Hi, welcome to Salt and Burn This. I'm Sami.
And I'm Valerie.
And this is our Supernatural Rewatch podcast.
Each week, we're going to break down an episode in order with lots of details, so nothing's left out.
And we throw in some personal nuggets and stories and research to mix it up just a little bit.
Because not only are we fans of the show, but like Sam and Dean, we've also had our fill of road trips.
Yeah, but for theater, not for hunting ghosts and demons.
And not in a super sexy muscle car.
Anyway, shall we?
We shall. So the show I'm working on right now is a dance and cirque show. Mm-hmm. You know, it's the dance and cirque version of the Nutcracker, which is a lot of fun. It's an incredibly difficult show. It's a very hard show. But as a thank you for everything we've done so far, my boss, the director, got us these chocolates. And it's called Cirque to Souffle. Chocolate, handcrafted chocolate perfection.
Uh-huh.
And which I thought was really sweet and funny.
Yeah.
But the description of the chocolate, I have to read to you because it makes me think that I truly don't take enough time and effort in anything I do in life. I know my job is incredibly difficult when it comes to the actual, calling of the show and stuff like that. That part of stage management is hard. The rest of it is just organizing and managing time and stuff. Listen to this candy bar. Cirque du Souffle is a gustatory pas de deux of technique and whimsy. Witness the high-flying flavors that delight and astound. The acrobatic chocolatier blends sensational chocolate with mesmerizing ingredients. When you open this bar, sparkle and fantasy abound and feast for the eyes. Break off a piece and place it on your tongue. Let it melt and stir your taste buds into resounding applause. Do something spectacular. Take a moment and truly indulge. That's the description of a chocolate bar.
Love that.
And we get on our podcast every day and we're like, listen to us. That's our description. That's our marketing. Actually, it's more like, please God, listen to us.
Yeah. It's like begging rather than marketing. So you're telling me that we should make like a punny description.
I'm just saying I need to take a little bit more time in life.
Throwing in the equivalent of our pas de deux.
A pas de deux? Oh my gosh. Yeah. No, I'm picturing them being chocolatiers and then sitting around the table and discussing, now, how should we describe this? And taking the time to actually write something like this out. That's all. My life is not this description. I do not go through life. And I don't do things in life like that. It makes me happy. I'm not mocking this. I am reading this made me happy and made me smile. And I went, a lot of thought went into this chocolate bar. You're not going to see this on the shelves. You're not going to see this candy bar on the shelves.
No, that's who makes the chocolate?
No, his name is Chef T. Let me see. It literally just says, "Thank you for supporting my business. I hope this bar brings you joy. You are incredible, Chef T." And it's
so maybe it is a brand called Cirque du Souffle.
Yeah, Cirque du Souffle.
My guess is that he used to once be a dancer and then moved, shifted careers into chocolatier.
Yes. His website is a Patreon website. So, but also everything, all the packaging is like recyclable and recycled.
Very cool.
Yeah.
That flavor's interesting too. Yuzu Crunch.
Yeah. It was really good. It was like a Nestle Crunch bar, had that texture and lightness and crispness, but it's had like a citrusy.
Yeah, yuzu is an Asian citrus fruit.
Was really good. It was like a milk chocolate yuzu crispy rice. So it literally was like a crunch bar with the citrus. It was very tasty. It's not something that I would like
Take off the
just
shelf.
right, or grab as a like, hey, want a candy bar? No, this was something that you would break off and literally enjoy the way they
Yeah.
described it, which is
Yeah.
as, you know, an experience as opposed to
Right.
a treat.
Right. Right.
Just like our podcast.
All right,
No,
let's get into
doesn't
this,
need to
and
be funny.
finally,
Do
we will get this episode
Metamorphosis.
down
Please.
for
I
you.
just want to get it behind me. It's not a bad episode. I just
It's
want it
not,
done.
but I know it's been like
Oh,
a month
bless.
in anticipation of recording it.
Yes.
I don't have my DVD wrapper with me,
Okay.
so
I'm sure
I'm going
Netflix
to
did it somewhat incorrectly, so it'll be fun
probably.
to make fun of
I'm
next week.
actually right now just going to read from the IMDb one, and if I get around
Okay.
to replacing it with the DVD one, then I do, and if I don't, then at least I have something. Okay, season 4, episode 4. This is episode 4, right? Great. Metamorphosis. A hunter named Travis points Sam and Dean towards a meat-eating creature called a rougarou. Complicating matters is the fact that Travis's target is a normal suburban dad in the earlier process of changing, and he hasn't killed anyone yet. Not the punniest summary, but you know, written by
That's kind of straightforward there.
yeah, written by Catherine Humphreys and directed by Kim Manners.
I was going to say this kind of had the earmarks, the fingerprints of
it had
Kim
a nice
Manners.
little artistic touch to it.
Yes, exactly. So when we first, I don't know if we mentioned this or not, I can't remember on previous episodes, but around the time that we were researching this, that's when Nikki Acox passed.
Oh yeah, I know. Thank you. Yeah, I was gonna mention it last time and
yeah,
I forgot.
So
but
Nikki Acox, who played Meg, the first Meg, first and only
yeah,
Meg, she died of leukemia.
yeah.
And I just want to take a moment to say, you know, the arch of her character. I talked about, you know, at times I liked her, at other times I didn't like her, and then, you know, I did like her. I appreciate what she brought to the as an actress. I appreciate what she brought to the TV world. So
Yeah, and I'm bummed because I had no idea that she was going through anything like that. You know, usually when we're looking up like the guest actors and stuff, I just go to IMDb. I never really look at their social media stuff if I don't already follow them. I'm a little bummed that I didn't, so I couldn't. Not that I don't think that we could have done anything at the time, you know, except acknowledge the fact that she was going through something really difficult. Yes. And it was odd that it was the episode that had her last appearance in it.
Yes.
That had just that we had just released, and it was like within that week, or you know, within a period of 2 weeks that she passed. And it was really touching to read all of the Supernatural family co-stars tributes to her. That like, they had nothing but like awe, the things to say about her.
Yeah, she was our first demon. You know, she was our introduction to demons, and you know, she made an imprint, and it's cancer sucks. I'm just gonna put that out there. Cancer sucks.
It totally sucks. So, rest in peace, Meg.
Rest in peace. So moving on to Metamorphosis. Obviously, Metamorphosis is a book written by Kafka about a man who has slowly changed into a giant cockroach, in sense.
It's also just the name of a scientific process.
Yes.
Like a caterpillar morphing into a butterfly, that type of thing. So it's
morph. Morph. But I think that in this case, it actually is a direct nod, because in the story of Metamorphosis, in the book by Kafka, he is changing into, quote, a monster.
I see.
He does change into a monster, and who eventually runs everybody out of his life, until the very last minute. His family sticks by him, but even them at the end can't stick by him anymore. So it's the family that stands by him until the very last second, and then they just can't. very much like in this story
Hmm.
as well. Just want to point out this episode grossed me out from top to bottom.
Yeah.
I was completely ooged out by almost everything in this episode.
Yeah, I was not listening through headphones at any point, but I had some gag reflex moments going on. It was just like, "Ooh."
Yeah. Yeah. We'll get
Okay.
into that. We'll get into that.
Yeah, but there were plenty
Um,
of opportunities. So in our recap,
yes.
it's kind of just touching because this is a to be continued episode from the previous one.
Yes.
It's just kind of touching base from the last one. Dean's Back to the Future trip. Mom is a babe. She was the hunter and not John. Kind of recapping Yellow Eye's plan that he had
Yes.
monologued to Dean, and Sam lying that he's not using his psychic powers. Well, he is in fact using his psychic powers with
Yep.
Ruby, and Cass threatening uh that they will stop Sam if Dean doesn't.
Yes. Yeah. And then the now, we open up with Sam and Ruby interrogating a demon who is tied to a chair and doing his normal demony, back talking,
Hmm.
oh, oh, you think you're gonna do this, and you're doing stuff with this bitch Ruby, and all the
Hmm.
women in Supernatural are bitches. And I forget who asks, but is it the demon or is it Sam and Ruby who ask where Lilith is?
Sam is asking the demon where Lilith is. Like, that's
Okay.
what he's interrogating the demon for. Demon does not give out, so then Sam exercises the demon out with his mind. Demon smoke pools on the floor and, like, goes to
That was
hell.
that was a pretty he's vomited out.
Yes, yes.
Uh, leave. I thought it was interesting though that when the Sweeney smoked out this time, when the demon smoked out, it didn't just like smoke up and out. It burned in a pool like at his feet.
Yeah,
Like the smoke kind of came out and just like burned.
yeah, and that's what happened the last time. The one and only
Yeah,
other time we've seen Sam do this with his mind is that it doesn't burst out into the ceiling and go. It, like,
it
dribbles
like
out of the mouth and orifices. And yeah,
yeah,
and burns a hole in the floor. Uh, so that's a nice little visual effect to mark the difference between the two, like a Latin
regular exorcism
exorcism and a psychic kid
and
exorcism.
yes, yes. So like Sam and Ruby exchange looks like at the end, like once he's exorcised, smoked out this demon, they like exchange this look of like smiles. Like we did it, it's working, I'm doing
Yeah.
it type of thing.
And
And of
Dean
course,
has seen the whole thing.
Dean was in the background and saw the whole thing. Title splash. I was like, secrets out, title splash.
Yes. So,
Um,
Ruby looks really creepy in this little portion of the episode, just like these, I don't know, her eyes and her smile. I don't know, very
yeah.
creepy. But Sam is happy that the guy is alive, like the
Yeah.
guy that the demon was possessing is alive, and that he himself doesn't have a headache because I guess,
The
during this process
exorcism
of learning, yeah, it's
is
painful.
helping. Yeah. That's kind of
Um,
scary too.
yeah, yeah.
It's kind of
And
like it was a little Dextery to me. Dexter gets his urges, his homicidal urges, and he feels better once he's killed someone. It's like, I feel better.
yeah.
You know?
And then in walks Dean. Whoops.
Whoops. But he doesn't know it's Ruby. Like he doesn't
Not
know
from the
that it's
start,
Ruby.
yeah.
Yeah.
Very quickly
And
he learns it's Ruby and then goes right after her with her own knife.
her own demon blade. Yep. And Sam comes between them, and then Ruby starts to like kick the crap out of Dean, and Sam calls her off. Sam
Mhm.
actually is like, "Don't kill him. Like,
Yeah.
let's stop this." Sam dismisses her and says, "Take this guy to the ER. The living body of the take him to the ER." So now Dean and Sam are left alone, but Dean storms off.
Yep.
He's like, "Not even going to talk to you."
Hmm. Then back at the motel, which Sam has reached first, don't know how long
Mhm.
he's been there before Dean then walks in, but Dean immediately goes to his suitcase and just starts packing up.
Yep.
Doesn't even
Yep.
acknowledge Sam coming in through the door.
Well, he's like, you don't need me. You've got Ruby. So
Yeah.
I'm going to go.
Yeah.
petulant, very petulant of Dean. But at the same time, I get it. I can
Yeah.
get it because it's not just like Sam went off and did something. It's he's doing the thing. He's doing the
Yes.
thing that he's not supposed to be doing that he said he wouldn't do.
Yes.
And he's doing it with Ruby.
Yeah. Yeah. Who he said was gone.
Yeah.
He's like, I don't know where she is.
I don't know where she is. That wasn't her, ordering us a pizza.
Yeah.
That wasn't the girl in her underwear when you first came back from the dead, clawing your way through from hell.
Yep.
And so Sam's like, all right, well, maybe we need to talk about this. And Dean just punches him. Like,
Yeah.
boom, punches him. Oh, feel better? Boom, another punch. Okay,
Yeah.
clearly you don't feel good about this.
Yes.
It's like, now can we talk? Because Sam doesn't even fight back. He just takes it.
Mm-hmm.
He just takes it. And those are hard punches. And so Sam starts to kind of stand up for himself. He's like, I know you don't like what I'm doing, but I'm doing this to save the victims.
Mm-hmm.
And in the time that you've been gone, Ruby and I have saved more people by exorcising these demons out of them than you and I have saved as hunters. That's a lot.
Yeah.
I
think he says like in an entire year we've saved more than these past 5
Right.
months. So not in their lifetime.
Not in their
that would
lifetime,
be
but
like
in
a
this
lot.
time period. Sorry.
Right. So yes, Sam wholeheartedly believes that he's doing good because he does mention, and we've mentioned this before a couple times, when you stab the demon with the knife, then it kills the person.
Yeah.
And we kind of just push it along. It's like, oh, well, I guess because the demons always ride them so hard,
that
like,
they're dead anyway.
They're dead anyway. But looks like, oh, guess they weren't. So how many people have we freaking killed?
Have we actually killed, right? But what Dean sees is Sam. He doesn't see the lives being saved. He sees Sam heading down the path that Castiel just showed him. That Castiel told him about. That this isn't going. Sam is headed down a dark path.
And that if he weren't his brother, he would want to hunt him.
Yes.
Which is a pretty heavy statement.
God doesn't want you doing this. He lays that on Sam.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, if God doesn't want you to do it, then how can it be a good thing?
Right.
And before the fight can get any further, they're interrupted by a phone call from, seems like it's an old hunter friend who wants them to go check out this guy named Jack Montgomery in Carthage, Missouri.
MapQuest. I know nothing about Carthage, Missouri.
No.
I've driven through Missouri a number of times. I don't think I've ever stopped in Carthage. So I know nothing about Carthage.
Carthage is kind of, I don't know how close it is to Joplin, but at least like visually in this map, it's close to Joplin, Missouri, which I've been to a couple of times.
Okay.
But it looks like it's kind of a big-ish town, city. I mean, Joplin's pretty big. Not quite as big as Joplin, but it is also it's a gray splotch rather than a green splotch. So little scientific
those of you just tuning in, splotches are
you'll know what I'm talking about when you see the map. All right. So yeah, Missouri, it's a good old Midwestern-ish area. So fits in pretty nondescript, but fits in pretty well with this guy who they end up describing, when he's just like, oh, he wears a cell phone on his belt. Yeah.
Yeah.
That checks out. My dad wore a cell phone on his belt for a very long time.
My dad didn't start wearing cell phones on his belt until they became too large to be wearing on your belt. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like, is that your belt buckle or is that your phone?
Oh, you mean like now he wears them on his belt?
Yes. Yes. Now it's like tablet size cell phone on his belt. I think he stopped doing it he hasn't done it in a couple years, but when they first really came out with like the smartphones, I was like, oh yeah. It's like that was before you knew that every time you like raised your hand or used your arm, you're going to snap your phone off its belt,
Yeah.
But yeah, that was funny. Dad.
Oh boy. All right. So we cut to Jack in Carthage, right up to his mouth, where he is shuffling food inside of it, and there is all this like glorious mouth sounds. It's either an ASMR wet dream or a nightmare. I don't know what.
Now,
depending on what ASMR you're into. I don't know, but
and I don't know how many times we've mentioned that, how many times you and I have tried to record this podcast episode, but every time we would not record it, I would go back and rewatch the episode to prep for the podcast. And every time I'm like, please stop making me watch this.
oh, that's
Because
funny.
the smacking and the juice in the
Yeah.
nom 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 types of, it's not just like chewing. It literally is a
Yeah, yeah.
okay, enough. And he kept going at it. That's the thing. It's like bite and then chew, 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 and then bite, shovel, shovel, chew, chew, chew. And I was like,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Sammy, please, we've got to record this so I can get past this.
That's funny. I watched this episode a total of 1.5 times.
So deep in my ear. It reminded me of, there was a time in rehearsal where I let you borrow, I had just gotten a new pair of earphones. And they were the kind that like wrapped around your ear, but went deep in your ear so that they wouldn't
Yeah.
fall out. And I was like, these are great because they were noise canceling, but they were only noise canceling because of how deep into your ear canal they
Yeah.
went, not because of technology. And I said, these are great. You should try this. And you put it in your ear. And then you looked at me and you're like, you just made me violate my ear.
Yeah.
Like they went so far into your ears
Yeah.
that you're like, I feel violated. I can't believe you just
Yeah.
gave me this. That's how I feel about this scene. I'm like,
It
my
violated your
ears
ear
feel
balls.
violated. Yes. So
Well, that's
grossed
just the
out.
first one. So, yeah, as you said, he's just like eating and eating and eating and like cannot satiate his hunger. And his wife is like, okay, you're either stoned or you got a tapeworm or something, but
Yeah, 'cause
okay.
he's like, this is really good. I just want more. He's like, I just really like your cooking.
Yeah.
And it turns out he's already had 2 steaks and now he's working on hers while she goes up to go make dessert or get
Yeah.
potatoes or something.
Yeah, it was a little bit of a supernatural Ron Swanson. And I know maybe you don't know that reference, but that is from Parks and Rec. Mustachioed gentleman loves steak, and in fact, there is an episode in one where he orders a third steak. He's like, "I will take that third steak after all," but he's like a manly man, and he likes to eat steak. That's his whole bit. Anyway, then later that night, he's brushing his teeth, and then we hear more noises and sounds, not from his mouth, but from his back.
He's like crunching. It's like bone popping, crunching. And then at first he kind of like looks around. He's like, oh, what's that? And then he goes back to brushing his teeth, which grosses me out anyway. Just so you know, I have a gag reflex when I see people brush their teeth. I am like, nope, 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 close the door. Can't, nope. People try to talk to me when they're brushing their teeth. And it's like, ugh. So watching this guy go through this, like the beginning of this physical metamorphosis where he turns around, it's like, what was that? And then suddenly you see his spine like go, like not poke through his skin, but
like
you see his bones
almost
move under his skin. I was like, oh God.
Yeah.
And it's like I gagged. I loved it. It's a complete homage to American Werewolf in London. This is 100% the American Werewolf in London.
It's also, and then that movie would have been also an homage to American Werewolf in London, Underworld, which is another like werewolf movie, but they have like a quote unquote camera inside the body of the man turning into the werewolf, and all of his bones are like shifting around and deforming and cracking, and love that.
If you Google or YouTube American Werewolf in London Metamorphosis, it'll show you the scene where he changes into a werewolf for the first time, and it's this.
Okay, I'll go look it up.
Yeah,
I have to add that movie to my list of things to watch.
Yeah, and I think it was early 80s. So again, the technology is but for the time, it was great. And so and it goes to the exact same thing, the same pain, the same disbelief of what's happening to my body type of thing, not knowing the change that he's going through.
Right.
Yeah.
See, I thought that he was gonna like eat the toothpaste or something, which that would have made me like
that would have really
gag.
But he's just like, what's wrong? That's the thing. Like the scene ends with him being like, what was that?
Yeah.
It didn't go anywhere. He just did this, what was that?
Yeah. So then the boys are on a drive. Things have calmed down, at least in his psychic powers window.
Yeah.
But Dean had just told his tale, his Back to the Future tale,
right.
like guess what? And
Mom's a
Sam
babe,
is just
but
like, yeah, Sam is just in disbelief about all of it. Like,
yeah, like
you
mom was a
know,
hunter.
right. And that his whole family was murdered so that Yellow Eyes could bleed into his mouth. That was it. And it's another like, whoops, accidentally told
Whoops.
another secret.
Yep. And Dean catches him. He's like, I never told you that.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't tell that part out loud.
And Dean is just like so pissed. And you know
More
what? Rightfully
lies.
so.
Yeah.
Rightfully so. That his brother
More
has
lies.
been keeping so many big things from him. All right, so then they get to Missouri. The boys are in the car spying on Jack through the window. And they're like, "This guy is so boring."
Yeah. Like what? We were told to look for something weird, and this guy is literally the most boring guy.
Yeah,
Nothing weird about him. And they're both looking through binoculars, which there's outtakes of this scene. Did you
yeah.
see them?
No.
I don't know who did it, but I think one of the stagehands did like black mascara, black eyeliner
Oh yeah, like
on the focus knobs. So, and I think it's Jared who puts them up to his eyes. He looks out, takes them down, and then he's got the black raccoon eyes and turns to
yeah.
deliver his line to Jensen, who just loses it. And Jared's like, "What?" He's got like the big raccoon eyes.
Classic.
Gotta love the binocular joke,
Yes,
that gag gets him
that is a
every
classic,
time.
classic. So yeah, things are really boring until Jack can't contain himself and starts eating like all of the leftovers in the fridge, even though dinner is like half an hour away,
Yep,
including taking a package of raw, bloody
meat.
hamburger meat and just eating it with his bare hands. And this was the part that I legitimately almost threw up.
Yeah, yeah,
I
because
had to look away because it kept.
it's and it's because it's animalistic too. He's not just like taking it and eating it and you're like, yay, this is yummy. He is like shoveling in it and smearing it across his face. He
Yeah,
can't get it into his body fast enough.
yeah, it's like dripping down his like
And he's got
polo.
fat and meat blobs on his
Ooh, I
yeah.
can't stop.
I know. Okay, we got to get past it. We got to get past it. Okay, so
So that's weird. There's
that's
a weird thing we've been looking for.
Yep,
Cool.
Sam and Dean. Yep. Okay, so that would be weird. So at a motel, they're keying into their room, but there's somebody already in their room, and it's Travis. Which I would be like, nope, new room. Anybody who can key into my room, new room. But all right, so it's Travis, and it's like this older guy, older hunter-looking guy. He's got his arm in a cast, and which just makes me think, I'm like, oh God, what is it with like actors on this show
I know.
that are always injured? But this motel, I will say,
Mhm.
total hunter's room. It's got the deep colors, got the deer head on the wall. I'm pointing to my reindeer, which I don't know if you can see.
I can't see your reindeer. I can see his butt and his antlers.
That is his butt. There's fish on plaques. It's a hunter's, cabin or
Yeah.
hunter's room. And Dean is totally being dickish to Sam while Travis is there and they're talking. Dean's just being a dick to Sam.
Yeah.
But at the same time, family is thick as thieves is something that he like throws out there. I'm like, you are so.
He's using every opportunity that Travis is throwing at him, and he's throwing him a lot of them to
Yep.
just dig at Sam and how disloyal and like disrespected he
Yes.
feels.
But Travis goes on to describe why he's been tracking this guy, Jack Montgomery, and why he may have been seen eating raw meat in the fridge. And it's because he thinks he's a rougarou,
Mhm.
which everybody's eyebrows kind of raise up at like rougarou.
Yeah,
Like
what?
Sam's like, what? Sounds made up. Even I am like, why couldn't Supernatural come up with like a better name? Guess what? It's kind of a thing.
Good. I'm glad you researched it because I did not.
There is a rougarou folklore legend, and it's pronounced sometimes it's pronounced a lougarou, but it's a Cajun folklore. It's the body of a man, head of a wolf, prowls the swamps looking for misbehaving children. What is it with misbehaving children that have to be eaten in order to be punished? It has rotted teeth, wormy skin. It starts as human and then metamorphosizes and that's the folklore, the Cajun folklore. So and then now Travis starts to talk about the the folk the legend now in Supernatural, which is they do start as human and then they change sometime through life, and they have this hunger for what they call was it
Long pig. Yes.
long pig, which is slang for human flesh. And I even looked this up. I was like, what is long, like, why is it long pork or long pig? Because it's rumored that human flesh tastes like pork. Okay. Good to
It's
know.
also, I think, because
We look like
pigs are actually kind of very similar to humans in many different ways. Like,
yes, biologically speaking,
yeah.
yeah. But I also think it's just that long pig before people
like
knew that pigs were, yes. So while Travis is describing what a rougarou is, in another scene, Jack's wife was in the kitchen cooking and cuts herself pretty bad with a knife.
And that like really triggered something in Jack. You know, she's like rinsing off her finger in the sink and he cannot gain his focus back.
Yeah. It's like he can hear it. He can like hear her blood running through her veins.
Yeah.
Or is that later?
Well, I think are you talking about the visual of where they like show like blood going through a bloodstream?
Yeah. Yeah.
I feel like they were showing his insides, like, and how his body was changing into something.
Oh, I thought it was him like hearing. Okay,
no,
I get it.
It could be both, but that's how I read it. And also, he was alone in the bar later, and they had that same kind of picture
same thing.
Going
so
through.
Maybe it's just.
I think they were just really trying to drive home the point that he was
changing,
metamorphosizing.
Okay.
into something.
Okay.
But anyway, he cannot control himself, and even though she's like, "I got to go to the hospital to get stitches," he bails. He's like,
he literally says, "I gotta go," and she's like, "Huh." And she's like standing there holding like her
half of her finger.
dripping finger.
So
once he leaves, then it cuts back to Travis, and Travis says they feed once, and then they can never go back.
Yeah, that's kind of like the final step, the final nail in the coffin to their transformation.
Yeah.
And he knows this because it runs in the family, and Travis had killed this guy's father. Not knowing that his wife was pregnant and that she had given up the kid for adoption. So it took him a while to find him, and also he wanted to be extra sure because he didn't want to, accidentally kill a child or even bring himself to kill a child.
Did they mention how he found out that the wife was pregnant? Like, was that because you would think that after he just killed the rougarou, he'd be like, on to the next.
No,
but somehow he found out that she had a child and then gave it up for adoption, and thus his life's work is now hunting down this potential.
Yes,
rougarou.
They did not. So now we snap back to Jack, who is at a bar, emptying like the trays of bar snacks. much to the bartender's dismay. And he just like keeps kind of replaying his wife cutting her finger, and how he just like can't get over it, and he's feeling some sort of craving and can't really like.
Yeah. And this is where he starts really seeing or we start seeing the blood flow, the cells running through the body and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But oddly enough, his thoughts are interrupted by a woman at the end of the bar who's being harassed by some drunk guy. She's clearly saying, "No, thank you, no, thank you." But of course, the guy is like, "Oh, come on, you should smile more." And, all those stupid, come on things. And so Jack decides to go down there and be like, "Hey, buddy, leave her alone." She said, "No, call it a night." But of course, asshole at the bar is going to be like, "What are you going to do about it?" Type of thing. Because he's bigger than Jack. Mm-hmm. And goes to take a swing at Jack. And Jack is able to grab the guy's hand, stop it in mid-punch, and then basically bend his hand back until his wrist snaps.
Yeah.
Much to the horror of the woman at the bar, who at first was like, "Ooh, my hero," and then it's like, "Ah!"
Oh, yeah.
Oh my God. And of course the big guy who just had his wrist snapped is now also screaming like a woman. And Jack is
not that there's anything wrong with screaming like a woman. But
No, but to hear those noises come out of a large man is very
yes,
satisfying.
yes, I
Very
agree.
satisfying.
But Jack is very surprised that he just did that, to say the least.
Indeed.
And takes the fuck off.
Yep. Snaps the bones right out of the skin. He's like, ooh. Yep. And
Yep.
runs.
Okay, so back at the motel, the guys are building homemade flamethrowers, I think.
Yeah, like
While
Dean and Travis are like bonding over how to like kill a
kill the
Rougarou.
Rougarou,
Yeah,
which is
so they're like
by fire.
by fire. And I was like, this sounds familiar. Flamethrowers or Molotov cocktails or something like that. I was like, all right,
Yeah,
sounds like
the Wendigo, right?
changeling. No,
Oh,
the
and the changeling and
changeling.
Wendigo. There's a few things that are killed
Oh
by
yeah, the
fire. That's
Wendigo
like
was
kind
the
of one of the top
salt and
weapons
burn.
of, yeah,
Yeah.
salting and burning, silver,
Yep.
and
Blowtorches. Yeah, they're
wood.
making like homemade blowtorches.
Yeah.
And like Travis said something, and Dean's response is, well, that's going to be horrible. I guess it's about having to burn somebody alive
Yes.
in order to kill them, like having to burn Jack alive. And Dean's like, well,
Oh,
that would
great.
be,
Yeah.
that's not going to be good.
So then Sam comes in with an alternate solution because in his research, and we know this boy loves his research,
Did his homework.
yes, that if they never do take that fatal human bite, if they go vegan, quote unquote, they will never turn.
Yep. They'll never kill. As long
Yeah.
as they don't, they won't.
They can satiate by eating a lot of raw hamburger meat, but
So therefore, we don't have to kill him.
yes.
And that's typical Sam, which is if they haven't done anything to deserve being killed, we don't kill them. That's
Yes.
not what hunters are for.
Yes.
That's not what we're for.
And this is where I wrote down long pig, so that must have been where Dean became fascinated with the term long pig, because he makes a point to say it anytime that he can.
Right. It's now his vernacular. He's like,
Yes.
I got it.
Yes.
Long pig.
Travis is like, that's not even possible. You know, every Rougarou I've come across, and he's must be his monster of choice is Rougarous.
Right.
They've always taken the bite. They've always turned.
And
It's because it's, it's nature. Not really human nature, just nature.
It's just
because if you're
nature.
hungry, you're gonna eat.
Nature of the beast, so to speak.
Yes.
I noticed in this scene, the camera shots were really kind of cool. Sam and Dean were still standing together when Sam came in and said, hey, we don't have to kill them. In the shots, it was always Sam and Dean together and Travis by himself, with Travis saying, no, we have to kill them. But Sam and Dean were still in the same frame together, with Sam saying, no, we don't. And Dean doesn't make any move in here to, like, no questioning looks, no, oh, there's Sam again. He's standing with Sam on this, just physically in the shot. And I thought that was rather telling of, as mad as he is at Sam, he's used to Sam having other solutions, and he's used to this, given, alternate solutions from Sam. So I thought that was cool.
However, Sam becomes very bothered when Travis is like, no way, we just we gotta kill him before anything happens. Yeah. But Sam puts his foot down and says, as you said, no, we're not going to kill him until he does something that he deserves being killed for. Yeah. Storms out of the room. Travis looks at Dean and is like, what's wrong with your brother? And Dean's like, don't even get me started.
Yeah. So we're back at Jack's house, right? And I want to say this kitchen has an awesome backsplash. Very well done kitchen. Now, here's a question, because Jack's wife is there and she's in the kitchen. Why are all the women in Supernatural, I've said this before, in white, stupid nightgowns?
No, yeah, we've both said this before. It's like, why no woman wears like these old granny nightgowns? If you are a woman that wears an old granny nightgown, I'm sorry to disparage you, but maybe rethink your nighttime fashion choices. I don't know.
My mom wears sexier night clothes, hipper, sexier, funner. Yeah. I mean, she even has like a penguin onesies. But I'm not saying that they need to start putting Supernatural women in onesies. But can we take them out of the white flowing,
chemise,
granny robes?
It's not even chemise. It's like,
no, because it was down to her fucking ankles. It's not even like no. So Please stop. Dear Supernatural.
Yes.
Please stop.
Now that your series is over, please stop.
Please stop.
So she's pissed, and again, rightfully so, because he just bailed on her in her time of need. She's like, I had to drive myself and my bloody hand to the hospital.
Where she was there all night.
Yeah, like, couldn't get a hold of him. Like, he just disappeared off the grid completely. And, you know, he begs her forgiveness, gives a lot of excuses. Like, I got really, you know, dizzy at the sight of blood. Right. I couldn't handle it. My phone's dead.
My phone died. Yeah. And she's like, well, that's new. You've never fainted at blood before. And he's like, I don't know. It must be something new.
But he does sweet talk his way back into her good graces. And like, she teases. It's like, hey, I'm going to need some jewelry for this, I think.
Yes, exactly.
At the end of the day.
Exactly.
And then he quickly crosses the line because his animal instincts are, again, taking over. Not in the way that he's trying to eat her, but he's trying to mate with her.
Yeah, it goes from fun sexual nibbling and playing to him like forcing after she said, no, that's too much. You know, no, I don't, that's not what I want. And he kept going and he kept going. And she finally snaps him out of it. But you know, it was scary for a second because he just can't control his animal, his baser animal instincts.
And he snaps out of after a minute, you know, when she's like, what is wrong with you? He says, I really don't know what's happening. So we're back in the car. Sam and Dean are kind of arguing about what to do with Jack. Sam is still like,
wait and
no,
see.
No, we have to wait. And Dean is like, but why? You know, he's just going to hurt someone if we wait and see. Good point. Both good points. But then Dean compares Sam to Jack as someone who is a nice guy, but has something evil in his blood, which really pushes Sam over the edge. Makes Dean stop the car. He gets out, and then he just kind of like lets out, you know, his feelings.
Finally, and they they have a good fight. Like it's a good fight, and Sam finally says what's been going on with him.
Yeah,
you know, and Dean hears him, and I underlined it. I wrote hears in all caps, and I underlined it. Dean hears him.
So Sam hates the way that Dean always looks at him like he's a freak or like he's an idiot. He hates that he's got this demon blood disease running through his veins that he couldn't stop, being that he was a baby.
He had no control over it.
Yeah, and can't remove it now because it's there. He needs to do something good with this curse.
Yeah.
Even though it's going a bit extreme. And, you know, Dean points that out. It's like, okay, but, I mean, really? Look what you're going for. But Sam needs to, because he needs to turn this bad thing that has happened to him into something good.
I wrote down chick flick. And I wrote question mark, but then I was like, it's actually just a real honest maybe. Because, I mean, real honest maybe. That's what I wrote down. Because I don't think it was intentionally, because whenever they point out chick flick moments, you know, they then totally like say this was a chick flick moment. They don't do that here. So that's why they didn't draw attention. The characters themselves didn't like say, okay, this is where we hug it out type of thing. You know, this was actually just an honest moment between them. So they're like, we just need to go and talk to, we don't want to kill him right now, but I kind of want to kill him. The thing to do right now is just go and talk to the guy.
Yeah, Dean flips over and says, okay, we will try your way. Let's go.
Have the truth is out there moment with...
yes. And they do. And they reach Jack, who is spacing out while he's watering a beautiful garden in the back. Like, this is amazing landscaping. I love this.
They have a great backsplash, a wonderul house. Look at this garden.
Go suburbs. Living in the Midwest, you can afford a lot of things.
I don't want to talk about how much money I don't have right now.
Yeah, I know. But they don't waste any time or aliases into getting straight to the point of what's going on with Jack.
They literally just walk into his backyard. They're like, Jack, we got to talk.
Yeah. I'm Sam and Dean Winchester, and this is what's wrong with you.
I like that they're like, so if you had that, like, craving for, you know, little man burger helper.
Oh my God.
Which made me laugh out loud. Most of the stuff I roll my eyes at, you know, but that one actually got a snort out of me because I wasn't expecting
Man
it.
burger helper.
Man burger helper. God. I actually laughed at that. And it feels like for a second that Jack is actually listening to them for just like a little bit.
Yeah.
But then he's like, no, what? Get the fuck out, you know?
Yeah.
And he runs them off. Yeah.
Yeah. It was kind of when they
They
touched
talked
on
about his wife.
they talked about his dad.
Oh, his dad. Dad, yeah.
His dad. And it's just like, your dad was one.
And your dad was killed because he was one.
And also then they say that his family is in danger because of him.
Gotcha.
So he's got to do something about it. And that's kind of when he's like, get the flop out of here.
Yep, runs them off. Now this next scene confused me a little bit. I mean, I figured it out, but when I was first watching it, I was like, why is he watching his wife? And he was.
Oh.
Because later that night, Jack's not at home. He's on some street somewhere watching a random woman through her window.
It's the woman from earlier. It's the woman that the sweaty dick was hitting on.
Yeah. Boots.
Yeah, it was her. I'm almost positive it was her. I mean, that's who I was just like, oh yeah, that's the girl from that he saved earlier. So,
see, I watched this how many freaking times? You watched it 1.5 times, and I missed that. I absolutely missed that.
You're so focused on the.
Get these out of my ears.
So maybe we can say he caught her scent. You know, the animal monster part of him. He caught her scent, and so then he like chased down after her, found her house, and now comes a gratuitous shot of, you know, lady,
getting ready,
beautiful lady getting undressed,
through
the window,
and then we see that Sam and Dean are watching Jack watch her.
Yes.
And when they're like, don't do it, don't do it, don't do it. And they see him go for climb up on the fire escape or something?
Uh-huh. Yeah, somehow he makes his way up to her outside window.
And they're like, oh shit. So they run in because like he's not gonna be able to stop himself. So they go running into her apartment. Yeah.
But when she turns out, you know, after she takes off all of her clothes, and then turns out the light, Jack from the outside can then see his reflection in the window, and he sees the changes that are happening in his face. and he's horrified by it,
and
leaves.
And he leaves, unbeknownst to Sam and Dean, who then kick in this girl's door. And it turns from like, we're here to rescue you, you know, to, oh, he's not.
I guess.
Sorry, you know? And not only are they like, yeah, sorry, we're going to go. Because, I mean, they literally say, like, we're here to help you. Wait. Oh. As they leave, Dean actually, like, tries to fix the wood frame that he broke in kicking in the door. He like tries to put it back in place. He's like, we'll fix we're gonna, okay, bye.
That's funny. That was a very cute, funny little scene.
Yeah. I don't think we really described though the changes that was on Jack's face when he saw himself, when he saw his reflection. Because it was like he had bloody eyes, or like bloodshot eyes. He had bruising. It just looked like all under his skin, like bruising like around his eyes. And it just like you could kind of see like darker veins, like blood.
Yeah, it was like his skin was like kind of like really wrinkled, or like it was too big. The skin was too big for his face, or something like that. Yeah. It was a little hard to tell just because it was dark and in a reflection of a window and not a mirror.
But it was a change that was clearly like, oh,
yeah,
that's not right.
Yeah, you look gross. Right. So Jack returns to his house, and it seems like he's
back to normal.
He's back to normal, but also maybe like he's come to terms with, oh, they're right, and I am a monster, so I need to take care of this. You know, I need to be responsible and not eat anybody. But when he gets to his house, his wife is screaming for him because she's tied up in a chair, and he gets chloroformed from behind by Travis. Fun note on chloroform, and I cannot remember where I read this, and I actually didn't look up to see if that was true, but I feel like it was on like a science-y website and not just like a Facebook or Wikipedia or something like that. But chloroform doesn't actually knock you out right away. Like when
It doesn't.
somebody holds a rag up with chloroform to your face, it actually takes like a little bit of time for you to finally pass out.
So not like, here, smell this.
Yeah. Now, like every kind of movie, TV show that has ever used chloroform to knock somebody out,
Yeah.
it
No.
doesn't really work that way.
Oh, can you imagine though that waiting for like filming somebody
I know. I
actually.
mean, entertainment takes a lot of liberties with a lot of things, so it's just one of those things. But I never knew that. Like, I always said, oh, okay, yeah,
Yeah,
that's
good.
totally true. I will circle back with that and let you know if that is true or not after I
Okay.
dig a little bit. But, so, anyway.
Fact or fiction on Salt and Burn This. So Jack wakes up from his chloroformation,
Hmm.
uh, handcuffed to the pillar of his house. And Travis is now monologuing, trying to explain that, he hasn't hurt anyone yet, but you will. And this is why I have to do this. And I feel like in this monologue, in that Travis isn't just like a cold-blooded hunter killer. I think he feels bad about this, but
Yeah,
because he's seen the effects, because he's seen the suffering and the killing because of this, it's like, I have to do this, you
right.
know,
And also because he didn't take
do it
action
right.
earlier,
Yeah.
do it right, and just like let this guy grow up, he then is left with the same problem again. Because when Jack pleads with him, it's like, okay, deal with me, but let my wife go. She has nothing to do with it. Travis says, yes, she does, because now she is pregnant, and therefore you are passing on this
Yeah.
gene again. And here I
Again,
am stuck in this conundrum
I
of,
have
well,
to,
fuck. You know?
yeah, I may not have to kill your wife, but I may have to kill the baby,
Yeah,
and Travis starts pouring gasoline everywhere. So I guess he is just gonna kill them both. He's just gonna
I
set the
think
house on
so. Well,
fire.
that's why he tied her up, you know.
Yeah, yeah. I think he's
Never mind.
past
Never
the.
mind.
He may not think he's a cold-blooded killer, but he's literally talking. But he's about to set two people on fire,
Yeah.
based on his own assumptions.
Yeah.
So maybe not cold-blooded, but he's definitely a little crazy. We'll
Yep.
just say. And as soon as he starts pouring the gasoline, the monster inside of Jack starts to like bubble up again.
Mm-hmm.
The protection side of the
Yeah.
wildness.
He goes into beast mode.
And he busts out the handcuffs and attacks Travis. Basically wails on him. I mean, like Travis is trying to knock him off using his cast, and Jack just breaks Travis's arm in half. Cast and all.
Yeah, I know.
And then takes a big bloody bite out of Travis.
Yep. Therefore, sealing the deal.
Yep, he did it. And of course, we hear chomp, 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 slurp.
Yes.
Chomp, chomp, all sorts of wonderful, disgusting sounds.
Yes.
Deep in my
And you also
earholes.
see Travis on the ground spazzing out because, the chunk
like,
he took out of him was like, yeah.
his neck.
So
now, I want to say
blood is also spurting out of his neck, so we get that sound. There's a lot of
makeup on Jack.
Mm-hmm.
They did such a good job.
Yeah.
It looks so good because the description earlier about his skin being wormy, I was like, oh my gosh, it really looks like he has worms traveling under his skin.
Yeah.
And I mean, it was just, it was great. They makeup department, A+, great job.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean,
and
no
like the
CG.
red bloodshot eyes.
Yep. Nothing fake about it. It just looked great. It's like someone had a really good time. And it wasn't like overly done. That's the thing. It wasn't like over gore. It was like, this is still a human being transforming into something. There's something happening under the skin in his
it was just enough. I was gonna compare it to Buffy the Vampire Slayer because I've been watching that a lot lately. And how anytime there was a demon, it was just like the most grotesque kind of features, exaggerated. There's horns, there's teeth, there's warts, there's ridges. It's like a whole monster suit, essentially.
Yeah.
And one of the few times that they kind of toned it down is actually kind of one of the scarier monsters, and those are the gentlemen. Remember that episode? Where it is just like a human form, just long and slender and spindly.
Yes.
And then their teeth are like basically permanently stretched open and their eyes are
Smile.
stretched open.
Yes,
And that's all it
that
is.
terrifying smile.
Yes.
Yes.
It's human with just like a few different things about it.
It was like the first Reaper that we saw in, was it Faith? But we see
Yes. It
it
was
was
like the
just like that.
oldest human thing alive.
Yes, it was like, an undertaker who's just really
Yeah.
happy about their job.
Yeah. Yep.
Yes. Same thing. Yeah, it's always fascinating when there's the construct is human and so it starts as human and then there's a malformation. So you
Mm-hmm.
still see the shell, the foundation of them being a human being, but then you see what the change has made in
Yeah.
them.
Yeah.
It kind of makes you feel like I'm capable of that.
Right.
Not like
Oh
I
no,
like
am I
not
going to
like
be a
yes, I
Rougarou?
can do that, but like, oh my gosh, that could happen to me is what I
Yeah.
mean. So I thought in this shot, there's a shot where you see Jack kind of sit up while he's chomping and chewing this bite of Travis, and it reminded me of like a lion's muzzle, like a lion who's like
Mm,
just been feeding, and they just kind of look
yeah.
up, and you don't normally see dirty lions. Like at the zoo, they're clean. They're not eating, they're not killing animals and eating them, so you don't see blood in their fur.
Yeah.
You don't see the natural state of animals, which is they've got gore. That's how they
Right.
eat. That's how they live.
Yeah.
And that's how Jack looked. I was like, oh, he looks like a lion.
Yeah. Yeah, he did
Okay,
look like an animal, which
an
was great.
animal.
So he
Very
looks
cool.
up from this his meal of Travis and at Michelle starts slowly moving towards Michelle, his wife,
Yeah,
and unties her.
yeah.
Lets
Because
her loose.
I thought he was gonna just chomp her,
Yeah,
just be
I
like,
did too.
yeah,
I did too. Because he kind of had like that animalistic
prowly.
look.
Yeah, yeah.
Ooh, my next
My next
prey.
meal. Yeah. Now that I've had this, let me have some more.
Yeah. But he's got a little
Yeah.
bit left in him still, and he lets her go. And she starts screaming, get the hell away from me, gets in the car, and is out of there.
Yep.
And he stands there, just kind of turns back to Travis on the floor and be like, oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. Snacks.
Yep.
Yep. And just goes back to eat more Travis.
Yeah.
So Sam and Dean arrive, and they see Travis's truck, and they're like, "Crap,"
Yeah.
So inside the house, they see the house is just wrecked, and they follow this like blood trail.
Yeah.
Of
Yeah. It's like a pool of blood arced around the back of the sofa.
yeah, he's been dragged around. He was dragged to a more secure place for eating, and it's
Yes.
really, they're like, "Is that Travis?" It's like, well, that's what's left
Yeah.
of Travis.
And it was like an out of the frame, one can assume a pile of guts and bone and
yeah, the stuff that just wasn't good enough to eat, I guess.
Yeah.
And oh gosh, there was a jump scare here. That Jack grabs Dean from behind, and before Sam can like light his blowtorch, Jack grabs Sam and smashes his face.
Yeah.
And it was just the jump. It was the grab that scared me, because I thought they would have come across Jack like still snacking on Travis, but that's not what happened.
Right.
They just came across the snack that was.
Jack attack.
Yes, Jack grabs Sam and smashes him in the face.
Sam wakes up in a closet, and Jack is still like coherent enough to like have a conversation with Sam from outside of the closet.
Mm-hmm.
He's like, "Hey, your brother's still alive, but like I'm this close from getting to him if you don't calm down.
Yeah,
because you guys did this to me. You forced me.
You brought Jack into my house. I mean, Travis into my house. This is what you guys were trying to do anyway."
Right. Which it really begs the question. I was like, oh, if Travis hadn't shown up and tied his wife up, would he have turned?
Yep.
But he backed him into a corner, and the animal came out.
It's like when dogs bite. Did they growl first? If they growled first, guess what? That's their warning.
Yep.
So yeah, Dean's alive, but he's unconscious.
Yeah.
But he's still on the other side of the door with a monster.
Yes. A monster he keeps like creeping up to the pool of blood that has come out of Dean's like mouth or nose or something. It's just like sniff, smearing it across his face, whatever. And then Sam is trying to talk Jack down. He's like, listen, you you have a choice to just not do this anymore, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the damage has kind of been done, but at least I guess your wife made it out alive. Jack does not tell Sam that his wife was pregnant.
Right. Right. But he does let it slip that Travis tried to burn his wife alive.
Yes. Yes. He said he tried to burn my wife alive, and that's what pushed me to the edge.
Yep.
But I don't know why he tried to burn my wife alive.
Right,
He didn't
exactly.
say.
Exactly. And like in the meantime, Sam is like MacGyvering like a coat hanger or something to use as a key to get out of the closet. It's like I'm not quite sure what coat closets are lockable. That you wouldn't be able to just like open the door and get out of. But hey,
Yeah.
again, it's a TV show. Travis is licking up Dean's blood, blaming them. And then this is what I wrote down again. I was like, bedside Sam. Like bedside Sam, kind of like while he's fiddling with the lock, is like, I know what you're going through, you know? And he starts to try to explain, like, you and I are kind of the same.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have to be a monster, you know? It only matters what you do. It's your choice. It's not who you
Yes.
are that matters. It's what you do with it that matters. And you can kind of see Jack fighting the urge, to eat Dean while he's being talked to. But it's like he could so easily lose this battle. He could absolutely lose this battle. He's that close. And in the meantime, Sam's managed to like unlock the closet. We don't know this until he like bursts out of the closet.
Right. Well, Dean is coming too, also. Like, Dean's kind of like making his way back from unconsciousness and sees Jack towering over him with his bloody muzzle. And Jack is like this close to taking a chomp out of him when Sam then is just like, hey, he's made it out.
Yeah.
He's got his flamethrower in his hand.
Drop it.
Yes, drop it. Leave it. Leave it.
Leave it. Sorry, that's exactly what I thought, though. Drop it, leave it.
Oh, no. That would have been a really good outtake.
Oh, outtake.
I can picture it. Oh my god.
So, but unfortunately, Jack leaps at Sam. He's distracted from Dean. He leaps at Sam because for a hot second I thought he wasn't going to. Just a second, I thought he wasn't going to do either thing. Like he wasn't going to bite Sam and he wasn't going to bite Dean. But he does like leap at Sam, and Sam is able to pull the trigger, so to speak, and torches Jack, who just like screams and howls and growls as he's being burned alive, saving Dean.
I wonder if Jack ran towards Sam on purpose, seeing the flame. He was like, okay, he's got like the flamethrower thing in his hand, and I know that we are supposed to be burned alive.
Right.
Or was the animal just like completely taken over by that point and be like, meat,
I honestly think because of the pause, because Jack didn't bite Dean.
Mm-hmm.
And it, like I said, for a hot second, I thought he wasn't going to, he had a look of, I'm not going to do this to Sam. But then he did. I'm going to say it probably was a self-terminating decision that he made.
Yeah, that's kind of what
Yes.
That's what I'm leaning towards was,
yes.
You know what? I don't want to live like this. I have just enough human in me to say this is not how I want to be.
Right. He made the choice. How many times can Sam say, make the right choice? You don't have to be a monster. To everybody he meets down the line, he's always trying to help them, and they end up succumbing to the monster inside them. And this time, just for a second, I think that Jack took that to heart.
Yeah,
and made the decision to not succumb to the monster.
Yes, I would.
And that meant that he had to basically get torched.
Yeah.
So I agree with you 100% on that first one.
Right.
I also would like to note that either they had really good effects in this shot, or I'm super impressed with Jared being able to light that torch the way he did. Because it didn't look like a stunt double to me who flipped who lit the torch. Because it wasn't just like click torch. It was like, he lit it and then he was there with it. Like it was Jared holding this blowtorch. And I just wrote down, either really good effects or I'm really impressed that Jared lit this guy on fire. And then oh my gosh, and then my next question is, did Jack kill himself or was it the monster in him?
Huh. All right.
I just didn't read down far enough. Look at this.
Right.
So the next thing that happens is Sam and Dean are in the Impala. Job is done, driving away.
Yep. Dean is trying to apologize for, I think, a lot of things all at once. Just like, hey, I'm sorry that I was acting towards you the way that I was because of your psychic powers. And Sam cuts it off. He's like, you know what? I don't really want to talk about this right now.
I can't explain it to you. You're not going to hear it. You're not going to understand it. I'm the one who has to deal with it, not you.
Because it's the blood, it's blood throwing in through me and not through you, so you don't really get it. So.
And Dean's answer though is, okay, but you don't have to do it alone. I'm here.
Right.
So I may not understand it. I may not be able to hear it, but you don't have to go through this alone.
But I think Sam is kind of like, actually, yeah, I do. Or something kind of like that.
Right. Well, but then Sam says, all right, well, I'm done using my psychic powers. He's like, it's playing with fire. And I was like, oh, geez, really? You had to use that, terminology.
Oh, there was a lot of like thick layers going on here because he says that, he says again, it's like, oh, this is my choice to not do this because, it's a slippery slope. I'm doing this for me. And he's doing this all while he's looking in the window at a reflection of himself, which is a nice callback to the window reflection of Jack, seeing himself become a monster, and Sam doesn't want to see himself become a monster. It's
right.
They're like, okay, thanks.
Okay, we get it. And it's like, my choice. Okay, done. And that's how the episode ends.
Yeah.
Right? And that's all I have. Not a happy ending. But not like, phew.
Right. It's like a pensive ending.
Yeah.
Because, no, we didn't get to save the person, but we also stopped more people from getting killed. And a lot of things are now out in the open, out in the air for, future discussion and tension and
fighting,
conflict.
Yes, exactly. But at least you walk away from the final. I mean, I literally got to the end of this and I was like, oh, okay, we can put this episode aside.
Yes.
Now I really want to know what's next. So the cat's out of the bag. We know that Dean knows that Sam's been using his powers. We know that Sam is able to like do things psychically and not just accidentally. He has focused powers. Yes. Oh, we know about Ruby. It's like, okay, so what's next? What's either the next monster or what's the next trial for the brothers?
Does he actually stop using his powers like he says he's going to? Before we end this episode, though, in our last recording, we had like so many things come up where we were like, did they? Didn't they? Oh. We had like, if you remember, we had so many questions of like, wait a minute, I can't remember if this was actually already established or not. So much so that I was like writing the questions down as we went along to say, okay, you know what? I think this is something I'm going to have to look up.
We actually have to answer these questions. Okay.
So I'm answering these questions.
All right, do it.
So one of them was, did John know about the occult pre-Mary? Or pre-Mary's death, I should say.
Okay.
Because I think we were talking about her wish was to not have her kids grow up the way that she did, and then John
raise them as hunters.
Yes. In season 1, episode 9, which was Home, the one where their old house had like a fiery poltergeist thing.
Yep.
Yes. So they went around interviewing John's old contacts. So they started with, or at one point they were at his old garage, like the co-owner of his garage.
Right.
And that guy even said, he was normal until like the fiery accident happened, and like he just was in shock. And then he started talking about weird things. He was reading weird books. He was saying that something caused the fire and it wasn't just an accident. Mentioned that he saw a palm reader or a psychic. who they find out is Missouri Mosley. And Dean pulls out Dad's journal, and the first sentence in the first page is, "I went to Missouri and I learned the truth." Which Dean was like, "Oh, I always thought he meant a state, but it was actually this woman, Missouri." And so they went to go see Missouri, and man, I forgot how good these scenes were with her just
with
railing
Missouri.
into Dean. Yes.
Yes.
Like,
because she was reading his thoughts.
You get your foot off my coffee table.
Yeah, right. But I wasn't gonna. You were gonna.
And she said, "I just told him what was really out there in the dark. I guess you could say I pulled the curtains back for him."
So he didn't
So I'm
know.
going to say, yeah. It wasn't until Mary died that he knew about the things in the dark.
Okay, so Mary didn't tell him.
Mary didn't tell him. He didn't break her promise.
In the first cycle, she did not tell him.
Yes.
That she was a hunter.
Yes. And so he did not break a promise to her that, or her wish. He didn't ruin her wish that the kids would not be racist hunters because he didn't know that was her wish.
Gotcha. Okay.
Second, did the special kids have a parent pattern of all the mothers dying up in a fire? Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And when was the pattern broken? So in season 1, episode 14, Nightmare, we meet Max, who is the telekinetic guy and kills all of his family members.
Yeah.
Yes, his real mom did die in a fire in his nursery at 6 months old.
Okay.
In season 2, episode 5, Simon said, Andrew, or Andy, the
Andy,
psychedelic van guy.
Yeah.
His adopted mom died in a fire in his nursery at 6 months old. His birth mother was one of the victims. Remember, she pours the gasoline on herself and lights herself on fire.
Yeah.
But his evil twin, Weber, his adoptive parents did not die. There was no extraneous circumstances whatsoever. So that's when the pattern broke. They were at the roadhouse after the whole thing. And Dean is like, "Oh, there's this pattern of a fire." And then Sam's like, "Actually, no, because I looked into Weber's adoptive family and
the twin didn't."
Yeah.
Huh. All right. So I wasn't totally wrong, but sort of, because not everybody. Okay.
Yes, not everybody.
The pattern was there, but it wasn't full circle everybody. Okay.
Right. Like at first they were just like, "Oh, here's a pattern that we can look for. Great." And then when this guy came up, they're like, "Well, fuck. Now we have nothing."
Now we
could
know
be
that
anybody.
Potentially anybody. Right. Yeah. Okay.
Third was, when did we learn Azazel's name? Because in the previous episode, Cass did say, Azazel's plan, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah. And didn't mention him as Yellow Eyes, just
right.
It was Azazel, and everybody knew who he was talking about.
Yes, because in season 3, episode 4, Sin City, the one where Ohio turned into like a little mini Las Vegas, Casey was the one downstairs when they're trapped together. Yes, she says Azazel. He's like, "Who is that?" And she's like, "Well, you may call him Yellow Eyes, but he does have a name."
Gotcha. Okay, it's all coming back to me.
Yes.
Okay.
So I just wanted to establish those things.
Thank you. Because I did see another Azazel mention. I was like, I can't keep saying, we didn't know his name was Azazel, because we do know his name is Azazel. Yes. Okay. Yep. Plus, it's just fun to say. Azazel.
Yep.
Well, thank you for going back and answering those questions for me.
You're welcome.
Because it'll prevent me from just dragging each question through every single podcast that we do, because I feel like I do that a lot. I'm like, "Do you remember when I mentioned this?" You're like, "Yeah, last time." And then the time before that, you mentioned it.
No.
But see, that's what happens when we don't do our podcast recordings on a regular basis.
I know.
So much time goes by. I'm like, did we mention this? Did we talk about this? But I told you that guy stopped me in the airport and applauded our marketing for Salt and Burness. Yeah.
Thanks, guy in the airport.
Really cool. Of course, did I take that opportunity to be like, "Hey, you can listen to us on Spotify"? No, I was just like, "Yeah, thanks." I walked away. Thanks for liking us.
Yeah.
Didn't plug us at all. Didn't plug the podcast at all.
All right. So our next episode is Monster Movie.
If this is the one I think it is, I really like this episode.
I think it has to be, because all of the images on IMDb are black and white. So
okay, good. Good.
One can guess which one this is.
little tongue in cheek for Supernatural.
Okay, so that was Metamorphosis. We are done listening to gobbly sounds. However, this is an episode I'm going to be referring to probably quite a bit in future episodes, but we'll get to that when those happen.
Okay.
There's a reason for it.
I know
Not
your
the
list
noises,
of,
but
okay, thank you. I know your list of things you need to watch is growing each time,
yeah.
but I would say please do even just Google that one scene
Cena
from
the
American
werewolf.
Werewolf.
Okay.
Yeah, the Metamorphosis, because it's like side by side. I mean, it's not exact, but it's
Close enough.
yes, it's exactly where Kim Manners got it from. So
Awesome. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in. You can subscribe to us on anywhere you can find podcasts. If you have the ability to rate us, particularly on Apple Podcasts, that would be nice too. We would love a good rating. You can find us on YouTube also. We're at Salt and Burn This everywhere. That's YouTube, Insta, Facebook, Twitter, however long Twitter is going to last.
soon to be Mastodon.
And we
Oh.
are going to take the Thursday between Christmas and New Year's off. We will replay our little Christmas episode that they did back in season 3. But anyway, everyone else have a very Merry Christmas and a Happy Hanukkah. Happy Kwanzaa?
It is a happy
It's
Kwanzaa.
Happy Kwanzaa. Okay.
I think it's happy Kwanzaa.
I wasn't sure about the prefix to Kwanzaa. But
Yeah.
happy holidays all
Happy
around.
holidays, everybody.
Yes, so take a week off again, and we will see you after that for Monster Movie. Thank you. Bye.
Bye.